Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Kline, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devan Kline.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation. Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. We exist to inspire, empower, and transform your life. And welcome to this episode. We are kicking off a new series on the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Kline, CEO and co-founder of Burn Bootcamp. And I am here alongside my co-host, Devan Kline, visionary and co-founder, and the HQ crew. So guys, we are so excited that you're joining us today. We're going to go around and just share a little bit more about each and every one of us.
Episode 393. We've been doing this for a while.
Damn.
We've learned a lot. We're dedicated to bringing Burn Nation the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the relational, the financial health, right? Because at Burn, it's about a lifestyle. It's not just about showing up to the gym, doing push-ups and leaving. It's the 360 approach, okay? And so we're excited because this, when Morgan says like new series, it's really a new era too. I would say that there's going to be 3 different episodes that you can expect to have every single week. One of them is called the HQ Crew. We're right here right now. Morgan's going to host us. I'll co-host you. I'll let Bryce Morrow introduce himself in a minute and Ansley introduce herself in a minute. But we're going to be here as anchors. And then every week we're going to do one interview with somebody very interesting where we get to deconstruct their mindset and bring that to you, as well as a focus meeting with a real Burn Bootcamp member with myself and our other trainers in Burn Nation. And so I just couldn't be more excited to be adding this value and be able to be present with you all today. So thank you for listening.
Yeah,
right.
I'm excited. I think we really got the first things first as host, co-host. I think that was a really good distinction to make. We're off to a good start. And hello, everybody. I am Bryce Morrow. I'm our VP of HQ Gym. So I work with the gyms that we own from a headquarters level. And I'm just excited to sit here every week when I'm invited and learn from anyone who's sitting in these seats and really help get the stories of Burn Nation out there and really just be your average burn bro to just engage in this conversation. Part of what was in this plan was to say the ultimate burn bro and Burn Nation. I've seen some of the burn bros that are out there and I just wasn't comfortable calling myself the ultimate burn bro. So we're going to go with the average burn bro, providing the average burn bro perspective.
I love it, but I think you're selling yourself short, Bryce.
I appreciate that.
I do too.
All right, Ansley.
And I think I got invited accidentally because I'm here with the VP,
No
visionary,
way.
and CEO. I am the copywriter here at HQ. Feel like I've gotten invited to the cool kid table, frankly. Super excited to be the guest today and to jump into really cool things like, I don't know, from juicing to the book.
Yeah, lots
gonna
to
be
talk.
great.
Lots to talk about. So
Yep,
that being
yep.
said, we're going to dive right in, guys. We got segment number 1, the burn world. So what is going on in Burn Nation? So one of the biggest updates that we want to talk about is our new series on our Burn On Demand. So on our app, we have the Burn On Demand platform that now has 14 different categories, one of them being our pregnancy series. So it's led by one of our trainers, Ashley Hearn, and she has 2 different demo members on there that are in their first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. So between all 3 trimesters, you're going to get safe and effective workouts that you can follow along throughout your entire pregnancy. And I can tell you, as a mom of 3, I got to experience burn throughout my entire pregnancies for all 3 of them. So thankful for that. It kept me safe. It kept me strong. It kept me prepared for labor. It kept my mental health sharp. And so we're very excited to be bringing that to our app and being able to reach more mothers across Burn Nation that maybe don't have access to a brick and mortar location.
Well, I have to say something because your journey with our 3 kids was so impressive. And obviously I got a firsthand seat to the whole thing. And you
sure
not
did.
only were working on your fitness the whole time, but you were also training people full time back in the day when you were pregnant with Cameron, our first. So it's something that's been a part of our life, and we want to we wanted to make sure that the Burn On Demand app is something that can be a supplement to the in-gym experience. We all know that community is like the glue that holds us all together.
Sure.
But the Burn Bootcamp On Demand app is really important to make sure that we can cover those niches, right? Those needs that you don't necessarily get in the gym, from recovery to camp with your kids with Morgan, to some short, quick, burst training type stuff with me, to quick camps with Matt Morris, VP of Fitness. And, like Morgan said, all the other modalities that exist. And Ashley Hearn has been with the brand for, so long, like basically since the beginning. And she's our pre and postnatal expert.
She is. She's trained me a lot. Now, Bryce, you're traveling pretty soon. So will you be using Burn On Demand?
This
during your
specific
travels?
category?
Not this specific category.
Is that what you're asking me?
I know
Yeah.
you said you're average, Burn Bro, but I don't think
Yeah.
you need the pregnancy version.
No, I've actually been using this quite a bit, not only when I'm traveling, but also just even at home when it's a busy day. I put a TV up in my garage and I was like, when I try to make my own workout, I don't know what to do. I'm just putting the same thing up on the marker board over and over and over. And I just finally said, look, I'm going to put a TV up here. I'm going to mirror this thing up to the TV, and I'm just going to pick whatever the protocol is this day, either do the live or do a quick camp if that's what the day looks like. And it's been fantastic. It's helped me keep up with my Keep Moving Club, which I'm ahead of some people in this room. I won't call them out, but I'm doing pretty well.
Funny.
Tracking for 250. But no, when traveling, we're actually heading to California. And that's really the plan, is just find, hey, where can I get my hands on some equipment, throw my phone up somewhere, and just, I don't have to think. I can get a good workout and then start vacation.
How many
mode.
camps, Bryce, do you have?
Right now? 92.
92? Woo, you are cooking.
Creeping up to
92
that
is quick.
100 milestone.
Have you guys got any DMs around members from Burn Nation that have told you what their Keep Moving Club count is at?
I bet you did, because you just posted
Yeah,
about
no, I
yours.
did.
And
I'll
some
just-
people were real excited that they had more than the visionary.
Yeah, that's for sure. They definitely they deserve to be excited. That, I mean, to be what day are we at now? We're somewhere in
Somewhere in May.
Yeah. So we, to be 100 camps, Bryce, this short into the year, I'm impressed. I don't
appreciate
know.
that.
Ultimate Burn Bro
I was gonna
status.
say,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate
I don't
that.
know, man.
All right.
What
You're
else
right.
do you have to do to get Ultimate Burn
We'll
Bro?
see what my intro is next time.
You got to
I
beat
might-
me in your push-up challenge, your 2-minute push-up challenge, which that's not happening yet.
Yeah. So if you guys have not tried out the app, we encourage you to try our 7-day free trial.
Yes.
It's available to you anytime. Just go to the App Store and download Burn Boot Camp. All right, what else is new? We have some new, actually not new, but Pina Colada Afterburn is back. So that is something that was super popular last summer. We brought it back. Have you guys had it?
Have I had it? It is so good.
Ansley sold us out last year. That's where
my
she's responsible for the
God.
shortage.
Yeah, it's the best. It's
Yeah.
the best. It's so good. And I have to say, Pina Colada Day is in July at some point. You do not want that day to show up and you do not have this afterburn. It is
Yes.
so good.
It is.
Hold on, there's a day for Pina Colada?
There's a day for everything.
What?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. So it's back. You can find it at locations near you, or you can find it on our e-com site, which is shop.burnbootcamp.com. And we just released a recipe, a pina colada recipe.
We did.
Yeah, y'all
It's on
did.
our Instagram,
Yep.
so we'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes, and you guys can actually have a recipe that adds the pina colada to get some yummy taste.
And by the way, I'm taking Spanish lessons right now, and it is, you guys are saying pina colada is pina colada.
Okay.
Note
Let's,
to self.
How's
Yeah.
my accent, everybody?
Next time we work this into the game plan, let's make sure DK is the owner of this,
Right, he
of
gets
this
to say,
discussion.
yeah.
Por favor.
Oh man.
Gracias.
All right. Also, some really exciting stuff, guys. We hit a huge milestone in Burn Nation. We had 2 locations open up recently, our 400 and our
Nice.
401. So 400, before we get into who they are and where they are, I think we just need to say thank you for anyone that's listening that has helped us spread our mission to now opening over 400 doors, which is a milestone in itself. Most franchise systems never hit that. And for us to do that in under 10 years is something incredibly special, which is just a testament to the loyalty and, the passion that we've been able to create within our communities. So thank you for listening and for being a part of that. So, okay, who's talking about 400?
Yeah, 400. It's pretty crazy to think that that's our milestone right now. I remember when I started 6 years ago, I remember coming up on the 200 milestone. And so to just be doubling that and many more already awarded, right? So I'm excited for future milestones, but you couldn't have said it any better. Just thank you, because the other impressive thing is, from what I've seen personally, 200 to 400, the passion does not dilute, right? Everybody continues to experience it in their gym, and they say, hey, I want to pass this on. Or they come in and they're just saying, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity to bring something positive to my community. And once they learn Burn and what it's capable of creating in a community, it's like that passion just carries on through every single location. And it's been really fun to watch. So our number 400, I know there was some competition for this. Anytime there's a big milestone coming up, right?
Everybody wants it.
Everybody wants it, right? But our 400th location is Bernie and Jenny Driscoll. And they have a really cool story. Jenny was a frontline nurse during COVID. So huge job. Thank you so much. That was a tough time. I was going to say one of your pregnancies was through COVID as well. And you were training some of the lives.
She has that classic picture in 2020 where she's super pregnant and you're standing in front of the pool. And it's just like, that will be burned in my memory forever.
Yeah. So Jenny played a big part in getting us through that. And then Bernie, who is an assistant baseball coach at Bentley, special place in my heart, making a difference through teaching the best sport in the world. I might be a little biased, but I always say to our kids when we drive past a baseball field, even if they're playing rugby, I say, that's where the real athletes are, over on that field. So
not biased at all, folks.
So Bernie is really passing on the great game of baseball at Bentley. And they've also persevered through numerous challenges. It wasn't an easy gym to get open, but it all led to them being number 400. They stayed committed to bringing this to their community, and Burlington is super fortunate to have it. Be number 400.
I talked to Jenny on FaceTime when she opened her gym, and she was just like a couple days before her grand opening, and she ran down her experiences throughout COVID, and she is so passionate about nursing, by the way. And she just, it's her calling, and she just was grinding it out for those years. And, so the shout out is definitely due there. And so she FaceTimed me, and she literally started crying on camera because she was so happy. She was like so happy to finally get her gym open after all this time. And she's rooted in her faith in a big way. And she said, and I know Morgan talked to her as well, and she told us that, hey, this being number 400 is a sign that I was trying to force to get the gym open through COVID, through all these. She's like, being number 400 now is just a sign that when you just let it go and you stay present and you keep your intentions focused on the greater good, that the universe will tend to align. And she just like broke down, and I kind of broke down. And we had a FaceTime conversation. It was really deep.
That's great.
Yeah. So congrats to Bernie and Jenny. And guys, if you are in the Burlington, Massachusetts area, make sure you check out their gym.
For sure.
All right. And 401.
Okay, 401, Bend, Oregon. Okay, Bend, Oregon, out on the West Coast. All right, Patrick and Tiffany Coven. Tiffany's on the FAC, and this is their second location. The other one is in Eugene, Oregon, and that one opened in 2022 in January, I believe. And they just recently opened the second one in April, along with one other franchise partner group out there, Megan Allen Jones, the pioneers of the state of Oregon, and a member in our FAC. And FAC is a franchise advisory council. And so Tiffany has a big responsibility in our organization, is to be the voice for our other franchise partners out there. As we grow, you mentioned 401st location to open. There's another couple hundred down the line that are coming on, and we got a lot of responsibility. Over 6,000 people that call Burn Boot Camp home in terms of when they show up to work every day, and that's a big responsibility to ensure that all of those individuals have an environment that is conducive to their health, to their happiness, to their growth, and to really becoming a better human being, because that's what Burn is about. It's about becoming a better human, and we tend to use fitness as a tool to do that. So the 401st gym in Bend, Oregon, give it up, everybody, for 400 and 401.
All right, and we have many more openings coming this summer, so we're excited to continue to report on that news. Continuing what's going on with Burn Nation, we have a great burn story that Devin's going to
share. I actually want Ansley to share this because Ansley got an opportunity to talk to her. So introduce her, and then I'll elaborate.
Hold on, let me get my eyes on.
You got this, Ans.
Okay. So Megan is a member at Burn Brazelton in Georgia, and y'all, when I say that this story gave me chills from the minute we went live to when we did our 2 claps. You hear a lot of members talk about how Burn has, saved their lives. It's their community, it's their friendships, it's their, it's gotten them into a better place with their body and their nutrition. But this story is actually about Burn Boot Camp literally saving her life. Megan was on Halloween in 2022, was involved in a really horrific golf cart accident with her family, husband, children. The accident was, it was something that happened very quickly. And when the golf cart rolled and her family was thrown from it, it landed on top of her. It landed specifically on top of her humerus and broke it clean in half.
Wow.
When they pulled the golf cart off of her and rushed her into the hospital for emergency surgery, she, by the grace of God, made it through. And afterwards, her doctor said, with so much confidence, that if Megan had not had the amount of muscle mass in her arm, that the bone would have been a compound fracture, which means it would have gone through the skin, and where it was located was on an artery.
Wow.
And if that bone had gone through that artery, Megan would have bled out right there on the sidewalk in front of her children and her husband. So when she said it literally saved my life.
Wow. That just gave me chills.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, she got very emotional in our podcast. It's podcast number 360 if you want to go back and listen to it. Very emotional about how grateful, obviously, the sheer gratitude she has for her community and for this fitness product that allowed her to make it through one of the most traumatic moments in her life. And then what ensued was her community at Brazelton, just everybody came rushing in. They hired people to clean her house. They cooked her meals. They washed her hair. They took her kids to the park so that she could rest and she could heal. Her trainers have modified all of her workouts so that she can come back with one arm.
Yeah.
And she's doing modified stuff, but she's there on the floor.
Yeah.
And she talked about how much it means to her to have this incredible community that really surrounded her and lifted her up. And we know that happens in every single one of our locations, but it was just such a hyper focus of what you all have created, what we create from an HQ standpoint, but also from what each individual location creates. It's just such a strong third place where people just come to each other's rescue.
Yeah.
And it was just an incredible story.
Yeah. I talked about that a little bit in the Atheltech interview, just the community that shows up. And I think what's also really unique about this story is that she wasn't able to compete in the level up games.
Yes.
And so her husband did it for her.
Shout out to David, her husband.
So I don't know if you had any more to tell about
well,
that.
she was at had signed up for the level up games. She was at camp number 240. Her goal was 250 when the accident happened.
Oh.
So the level up games were, I think, a matter of weeks away after the accident. And her husband, unbeknownst to her, joined up with her trainers and started training. Now, she made a special point to say, my husband works out, but he didn't work out at Burn.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, folks. So when he started training, he got in there and he went in her place in the level up games. You can imagine the crowd rooting for this guy. And there's footage of it. It's unbelievable, like heart swell, tears. He did the very best that he could. He absolutely crushed it. He showed up for her. And again, in that episode, she gets really emotional talking about how much that meant to her and her kids to see her husband understand what Burn Boot Camp means to her.
Yeah.
And to step into that role for her. And she's, when we talked, this was a month ago, she was already on her way to 50 camps this year.
I bet she was.
Oh.
Yeah. And I bet she'll compete at the level
yeah,
games this year.
without question. There's
Yeah.
nothing that this woman can't do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
know.
think I want to cry for that,
I
but
know.
we're going to keep moving.
We're going to share a Burn story from someone in Burn Nation on every HQ Crew episode, everybody. So if you have any stories out there that you think would be something that would be inspiring, motivating, empowering to the community, please submit it to us. You can do that on Instagram, on YouTube, anywhere. We'll find it. You submit it, any Burn Boot Camp property, and we'll definitely find it and bring it to the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Megan, for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah, she
Again,
was cool.
episode 360, if you guys want to go read that.
We'll put
full
that in the
story.
show notes too,
Yeah.
the episode, just for your reference.
Yep. It's a good
All
one.
right, it is time for member Q&A. So this is questions that we've gotten from you guys, again, on any of our social platforms. So we put those all on a big list, and we're going to grab a couple each episode. So our first one, which I just can't wait for Bryce and Devan to talk about, but postpartum fitness.
Well, I am a trainer, so
That's very true.
Although I will say I'm not certified pre and postnatal, but I've had enough experience and talked to enough people to deconstruct them to know what I'm talking about.
All right, so Nicole Lynn says, I am back to burn today. Any tips? So who wants to start? I mean, I have a lot to say.
I do too.
I'll start from the trainer lens. And then we can kick it to Bryce because he knows all about this, right? Like he's had to go through it himself.
Ultimate.
Yeah, he's the ultimate.
I mean, how much time we got?
I mean, seriously.
That's my main worry.
So, okay, let me say this. There's traditionally 3 trimesters, but I'd like to add a 4th and even potentially a 5th if you gals will accept me in this one. And so prenatal is pretty straightforward. It's you want to get your body as strong as you possibly can for life. And one of the most, your body is designed as a woman to give birth. And what's one of the life things you get the privilege of doing is to give birth. And so strengthening your body, your muscle mass, being healthy, obviously is all like kind of the prenatal stuff, right? Okay, so let's go like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th trimester. Hang with me on this. So 1st trimester, we don't do a lot of modifications up to 14 to 18 weeks, somewhere in there. 2nd trimester, that's when we really start needing to pull back transverse rotations. So it's we start, we have to start really looking at the gravity, right? And internalized pressure. So anything where you're planking or doing a pull-up or where you're increasing the pressure inside of your body, you want to start to stay away from that. Bodybuilders have this move called the Valsalva maneuver they've made very popular. And you can probably imagine what would happen if a bodybuilder was to like try to do his maximum lift, and he would go big breath in and hold it, and then do the lift because you're internalizing the pressure, and that pressure actually makes you stronger. And that's what we do when we do like pull-ups. So heavy compound lifts like deadlifts and things like that. So we want to start to stay away from those things. And there's a lot more to talk about here. I'm just trying to get through these relatively quickly. And then, in the 3rd trimester, which is leading up to delivery date, whether you choose to have a vaginal birth or a C-section, this 3rd trimester is very important because your abs have now separated, relaxin has taken over now for 7 to 9 months, and the body is vulnerable is a good word to use. Okay, so we don't want to strengthen our abs when they are starting to be separated, okay, because what that could promote is diastasis recti. You want to make sure that when the abdominals, as the body does get prepared for delivery, the abdominals start to separate to make room for baby, and you definitely don't want to strengthen those muscles in the wrong position. Okay, so now, and you should work out through 1st, through 2nd, and 3rd trimester. Obviously, given that you're cleared by your doctor, but definitely lean heavily toward continuing strength, continuing to get your heart rate up, and just make those little modifications I talked about as we go down. And those are the big kind of, dangerous ones. Don't internalize the pressure. And once you get toward delivery day, it's like, this is just a maintenance mode. This is here for you to move, to feel good, and to keep the body going. Okay, 4th trimester. This is the most important one from a trainer perspective, because what happens a lot of times after that, after that clearance by the doctor, all of a sudden, woo, we're ready to go. You probably kind of start to feel better, especially if you gave a vaginal birth, you start to feel better around that 12-week time frame.
Well, 6 weeks is when you technically get cleared.
Yeah.
8 weeks with a C-section.
8 weeks, but it's
arguable.
Yeah.
If you're really ready at that point.
Yeah. Are you really ready? My answer is no, you're not ready. Even though you giving a vaginal birth, you might feel like you're ready. I know this is just anecdotally what members had told me. And then obviously I saw Morgan, with our son Max, undergo a C-section, and the recovery for that was as a major surgery. So the recovery for that was like a lot more in depth, and she couldn't stand up for a solid 6 to 8 weeks, let alone do deadlifts and stuff. So that 4th trimester, you treat it much like the 3rd trimester, where you're not trying to internalize the pressure. Your body's recovering.
Sure.
Your uterus is shrinking. All the things are kind of normalizing. You're trying to get back to the normalized state of body. You're breastfeeding during this time, or the body is primed to. If you choose not to, that's your own prerogative. But the body is priming to. And so there's a lot going on hormonally in that 4th trimester. just be patient. Okay. Just be patient. You're really in an adaptation phase during this period of time where you are going to recondition the muscles like you are starting fitness over.
Yeah.
And from a trainer lens, we go through the different periods, the different stages of training, and it starts at adaptation, and then it moves into what we call hypertrophy or muscle growth, and then it moves into maximum strength, and it moves into power, and then that's the cycle. And so you want to start back at the adaptation phase in the fourth trimester and work your way for a solid 90 days into where you get into the fifth trimester, or we call it the forever trimester or the forevermester. And this is your postpartum, like for the rest of your life after that.
Sure.
And your body went through a traumatic experience. It changed. It will not ever be the same as once it was, but it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And so the fifth trimester is where you now start to work back into where you were in the first trimester, right? So first and fifth, second is you're starting to wind it down. Third is you're maintaining. Fourth is you're maintaining, and then you slowly start to ramp it up after that. And my suggestion from a trainer lens, and then I'll pass this to the ladies, is that your body is your temple, and rushing it, anything that's been built that is great always takes time. And so just be patient and think about it not in 3 trimesters, think about it in 5. And I think that'll give us a framework to say, all right, now I'm not going to injure myself. And what's the most important thing that you guys think about as you're going through this and working out and all the physical nature of it is like, am I protecting baby?
Yeah.
Right. Am I protecting baby? But also, moms, you have to put yourself in that category too. We've also got to protect you. So it's you and baby. And you know, at Burn, we're experts at this. And so you go to any one of our now 401 locations, you'll be able to experience somebody that can really help you with that. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think
before we kick it to the ladies, can I just go on record and say that's exactly what I would have said.
Okay,
so thank you for taking that, but I just want to be on record that maybe would have said it a little bit better. But thanks
Bryce,
for
he
jumping
got
on.
your notes.
Okay.
Yes. I think you covered it really well from a technical standpoint. I think I did want to mention, obviously, that new pregnancy series. If we're talking about, pregnancy and working out, and you talked about the first through third trimester, and then also the pelvic floor series that we've done with Dr. Amanda Fisher. She talks about pelvic floor and core, and and that's the thing that a lot of us don't know about, or we're not educated on pelvic floor. Throughout any of my pregnancies, the doctor said nothing about that. They don't do any of that in your postpartum visit, and don't really ever look at diastasis in your postpartum visit. So there's unfortunately somewhat of a gap between that information you're going to receive to be cleared, but then what it really means to like safely work out postpartum. And so I'll just take a different approach from a technical perspective and just give encouragement, Nicole, to you that just know you're on your own timeline and you don't need to compare yourself to anyone else that's in your gym that may also be postpartum, or anyone that you're seeing on social media that looks different than you postpartum. I was somebody that never walked out of the hospital and like could put my jeans back on, but there are women out there that they can do that. And that's just the way that their body works and operates. And I still looked pregnant for a while afterwards. I have a very small stomach. I'm 5'2". I just don't have the luxury of that on my side. So I can remember, no one really told me your stomach doesn't go down after you have a baby. Like you actually have to shrink your uterus and all these things have to happen. And so I kind of had to learn that the hard way of don't come back and compare yourself to the other moms, because at Burn Boot Camp, there are so many mothers and postpartum. And so you're going to fall into that trap, but just protect your mind from that perspective. And then also, if this is maybe your second journey at postpartum or pregnancy, it looks different than the first time.
Absolutely.
So I remember coming back from Maxwell. Obviously, I did have a different birth because it was an emergency C-section. But then even with Ryan, each recovery has been a little bit harder because you've done that to your body now multiple times, and you've got other small kids that you're taking care of at home. So whatever your situation is, whether it's that or not, I would just encourage you to take your own timeline and celebrate just small things. The fact that you even got to the gym and that you're taking that 45 minutes for yourself is going to help you so much in being able to then go home and take care of your baby and your other kids or your home. So celebrate that in itself and just give yourself that grace.
Yeah, I agree. I know it's, I remember just thinking, I got to get my body back.
Yeah.
Even
the
though,
bounce back, the bounce back expectation is real.
And even though we're all super educated, I think most women out there know that, it takes 9 months to get there. It's going to take about 9 months to get back. Yeah. But it's a strange loop that you can get in, especially you mentioned social media and women that wear their jeans home. And, it's not a realistic expectation, but I do remember thinking, okay, my body is, I need to get this back. Yeah. I need to start this process right now. And I think that, Devan, you might be able to speak to this a little bit more intelligently than I do, but, that stress is not good for your metabolism, for your sleep, for the things that are necessary to start the process of getting your body back. So, sleeping, eating well, just taking care of yourself in a different way than just grinding it out on the floating floor. Yep. So,
don't expect to come in and do pull-ups like you used to do pre-pregnancy because again, like Devan mentioned, everything has changed inside, but also you are sleep deprived and your mind is in a different spot. Yeah. So just set those realistic goals. The best advice I can also give is just meet with your trainer, schedule that focus meeting and help them help you.
Yep. Great call out.
All right. Anything else, guys?
I mean, quick question.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the physical stuff, some mental stuff, but I also have to imagine life changes quite a bit, right? Especially if it's your first, right? So I put myself in your two shoes. I'm like, man, getting to the gym for me, just with kids who are 13, 18, they don't need me to survive. In fact, they help me survive when my wife's traveling. I've got to imagine life changes quite a bit, right? So that's where the app comes in and Burn on Demand, because you touched on it. Hey, just make some progress, right? Like we meet you where you are and everybody's in a different place. And I'm just listening to you guys talk, just thinking, wow, it just must be such an adjustment, not only physically what you're doing in the gym, but kind of understanding what are my habits and what's my schedule to be able to get to the gym. You're always in great hands when you show up and you walk through those doors.
Right.
But what about the days where you can't?
Yeah. And that's very real. There's no schedule really in those early weeks with your baby.
It's a blur.
And so, you might have goals to get to 8:30 or 9:30 camp, and then something happens at home. So I love that we have that tool for moms, because it takes longer to get everywhere, and you're packing a lot more. And so whether it's in the gym or on the app, that like Bryce said, it's meeting you where you're at.
Would you recommend people in that 4th, 5th trimester continue using the motherhood pregnancy workworkouts?
Yes, I do, because your pelvic floor, your perineum, the complex group of muscles that really works. Who said this to me? It was it was Amy Skemper. We are going to have her on the podcast that will release soon. She was talking to me just about how the pelvic floor and the perineum, they're like a hammock for your organs. That's what she said. It's like
good visual.
And she said if you were to like pick up a tissue with your hands off the ground and just kind of like lift it up, right? That's like the flex. That's how you want to kind of flex that group of muscles down there. You don't want to.
Everyone here is doing it right now.
You don't want to squeeze it. You just want to like softly draw it up and then draw it down. I actually do a lot of Kundalini meditation, which is like. Morgan thinks I'm crazy. I am. It's okay.
I am all for it. It's great.
It is a chakra energy system.
Look at Devan Kline.
So you have like your perineum, and then your gut, and then your chest heart muscle, and then your throat muscle, and then you have this pineal gland that sits on top of your head. And the whole idea of Kundalini meditation is to draw the energy and the stress away from those energy centers and push it up through the pineal gland, which is responsible for the production of DMT. And so it's thought that Kundalini meditation gives little small micro doses of manufactured DMT. I think I'm correct on that. Fact check me if that's the right compound, but it is a chemical compound up there in the old cranium. So
Did you know he was doing that?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
Do you just
I
look
didn't.
out and see him at the end of the dock just doing
he
some
does,
stuff and
he
think,
does
what's
meditate.
going on?
I just didn't know it was the name of that.
I
So I
passed out
learned
once
something
doing it.
new every day.
I passed out once doing it, and I didn't tell you.
Oh,
Because I didn't want you to get scared. But that commonly
It's a lot of
happens.
breathing.
Yeah, and like you're supposed to put the pressure up in the top of your head and hold it and squeeze it and like draw it up. And I passed out one time on the couch in the lake
Good
room.
thing you were on
Nice.
the couch.
Yeah. You know, break my
All right.
nose passing out.
All right, we are moving on to our next segment, health and fitness headlines. So today we're going to talk about juicing. What is the healthiest juice is the question. So we're going to get everybody's take on this a little bit. Devin, it looks like you've got some good notes here.
Yeah, this came from an article on today.com. So this will bring some headlines to you guys, some really interesting headlines out there in the health and the fitness world. And maybe we can show a little bit of the article on the screen. We'll definitely link it in the show notes as well. But just like, let's set the stage for this. Juicing over the years has gotten a bad rap and a good rap and then a bad rap and then a good rap. And then it's like, what is it really? So I think I want to use this segment to like get to the bottom of what juicing really is. So like, let's go over pros and cons. So pros of juicing, there's a lot of pros. Morgan knows that I drink Suja Uber Greens. I'll explain why I drink Suja Uber Greens, but obviously I think that the pros heavily outweigh the cons, but the pros of juicing is that obviously increased micronutrients, the increased consumption of micronutrients, the fact that it's bioavailable micronutrients, the reason that protein powder is thought to be one of the most bioavailable forms of protein, even though it's slightly manufactured and it goes through processing, it's liquid. Right, and there's a big correlation between liquidity and the bioavailability. 3, it has phytochemicals and antioxidants. I'll explain what phytochemicals are quickly. They're naturally found in plants to give it color, to give it resistance to disease, to give the plants flavor. They're not essential for human survival, but the phytochemicals are thought by a lot of mainstream scientists to have cancer fighting properties. I'll put it that way. They say it may promote health in this way, but it's not essential for survival. So that's important to know. Like phytochemicals, antioxidants, not essential for survival, but good for the body. And then increased hydration, obviously, because the juice itself is mostly water. And the cons are that you remove fiber when you do juicing, and one of the binding agents of sugar molecules in these micronutrients is fiber, and fiber actually slows down the digestive process. And when you slow down the digestive process, you also slow down the breakdown of sugar. And when you slow down the breakdown of sugar, you don't have propensity to increase resistance. If we smash a lot of sugar all at one time, the body has this reaction where your insulin spikes. If you do that too often, if you allow your insulin to spike too often, you could develop type 2 diabetes, which is the non-genetic form of diabetes that is habit and environmentally ensued. Nutrient loss is and high sugar content that's the reason, because the fiber's not in there. So when you remove the fiber, that high sugar content, can really increase insulin and promote body fat gain. And then obviously the nutrient loss from the micronutrients not having the fiber to attach to then slow down the metabolic process or the digestion process rather is important. And then obviously cost is a big deal for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Juicing costs a lot of money, babe. What we have like the machine, right? We bought the machine one time.
We did. I haven't touched that thing in years.
Yeah, because it's like it's impractical to like clean that thing out every time.
I had 3 kids instead, so I think it's still getting dusty somewhere.
Your juicing days are over.
My juicing days are over. Yeah, but
plus
I
I picture that you have a pile of celery stalks behind you to the ceiling to produce like one little thing, and it's kind of like, hey, a crab meat, like it's the best in the world, but you're cracking and
it's
you're
a lot
just,
of work.
and then you get this little thing and you're like, all right, that payoff was great, but I'm not sure it's worth the work. And that really, I think, was my question of, as a burn bro, and I'm just struggling to get the basics, enough protein, eat enough. What are the pros, right? I mean, in terms of like, if I'm going to juice it myself, and it takes the machine and it takes all of those things and it takes 72 oranges to have a shot of orange juice, what's the practicality here? It's because it's giving me the good things in a more concentrated dose?
Well, I think it goes back to the phytochemicals and antioxidants. And so that if you were to put that in like layman's terms, it's the health benefits, right? The health benefits of it. Now go to the cons, and let's say you don't we want to stay away from juices that are high in sugar content, even if it's fructose sugar from fruits. Or dextrose from vegetables. We want to make sure that we stay away from things high in sugar, which is why I drink Suja Uber Greens, because it's practically a lot easier. It's USDA certified organic, and it has no sugar in it. It's basically a bunch of vegetables blended together. Now it tastes like you were to go outside and start chewing on grass, and swallow it with water.
Who likes it in our household other than Devin though is Ryan, our 3-year-old.
Really?
Yeah.
3-year-old.
I'm like, what?
I don't think he has the capacity to hold up sarcasm for that long and like that joke. So it's not a joke. I thought it was a joke at first. He'll drink it. Hey, Dad, I want some juice. I'm like, sure, dude. I don't even want this juice.
He's pretty headstrong. So I feel like maybe one time he drank it and you told him not to, and he's like, I'll show you. He doesn't.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Tell me not to. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
Let me answer Bryce's question real quick, and then I'll kick it over to you guys. So let's talk quickly about phytochemicals. There's a bunch of them, but 3 ones that I wanted to call out: flavonoids, carotenoids, and phenolic acid. So the flavonoids, they fight the free radicals in your body. So you're fighting, like literally fighting off cancer cells. That's thought. I can't say you for sure are, but mainstream science says it may, because these phytochemicals have flavonoids in them.
So I'm low flavonoids. I got to get my flavonoid game up.
Yeah, you get that game up through juicing. Carotenoids, the pigments and the antioxidants in plants are carotenoids. Phenolic acid, this may contribute the most to the reduction in cancer risk, but these are the real health benefits behind why you should juice. And obviously then all of the micronutrients that we're not getting on a daily basis. That's what most people think about juicing, but I legitimately, when I'm taking that, I'm like, I'm getting my phytochemicals in today, chemicals that are only produced inside of these plants that we juice. And that's the answer. Let me say what it isn't to me, and then I'll be done with this. So what it isn't to me is like this 7-day detox where you just drink juice all day long. And as long as you're drinking juice, like that's healthy. That's not the case, you guys. If the juice, like a Naked brand let's say the Naked brand, many people know this brand, it's got like 72 grams of sugar in it, mostly from fruits and fructose sugar. But 72 grams regardless, without being bound by fiber. And I correct me if I'm wrong out there, someone in Burn Nation, but I'm pretty sure that the Naked juice is not that rich in fiber, and maybe it is. I don't know. I'm just using an example. I don't know the brand that well, but I definitely know that the Suja juice has like no fiber in it. So therefore, I do not drink any of it that has sugar in it, because I do not want the negative insulin effects that come from that. So just my 2 cents on juicing.
Good call out.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge juicer myself. We've certainly thought that we needed to be for a while, and that's why I purchased a juicer. I've done juice cleanses way back in the day, but that's when I had just like a very negative relationship with my body, and I thought that was going to be the ticket. Just do that 3-day juice cleanse.
Quick fix.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hated it. I was hungry, very hungry. I would say I do the AG greens. So I know Devin has thoughts on that, and I don't know if we have time to get into it, but I just think there's a lot of sugar in it. And I think that most of the things you're getting off the shelf have either some sort of preservatives in it, because they've got to somehow to make it stay fresh, to get it to the shelf at a grocery store for then you to buy. And I don't have the time and energy to do fresh juicing. So if we're out and about and we see a juice place, like, I'll indulge in one. Or if I'm feeling sick, I'll do like those immunity ones, those like immunity shots. But otherwise, it's not really practical in my life.
Yeah, I don't have the time nor the counter space to sacrifice for juicing. And I think, and to your point, Devin, I think especially for me at my stage in life, fiber is just, it's so important for visceral fat and to, feel fuller longer and all those good things. But one thing out of the article that I did think was interesting was the tart cherry juice and its ability to help you sleep.
I think that's like making a comeback. There's like a whole viral TikTok drink that you can make every night with tart cherry juice.
It has serotonin and tryptophan in it, which I didn't know. So if you're part of the 3 a.m. Solve the World's Problems Club, like I am, it's something like, why wouldn't you just add that into into your nightly routine.
Not to mention the recovery benefits of it too, like the tart cherry.
Oh, right. And it
a lot
does.
of recovery.
Yeah,
a lot
muscle.
of recovery benefits.
Yeah,
muscle
beet
recovery.
juice and tart cherry. Yeah.
When you say 3 a.m. solve the world's problems, are you getting up to solve the world's problems, or are you laying in bed still not able to fall asleep?
It depends on the problem that I'm trying to solve.
Oh, a little bit of
Sometimes I
both.
have to get up.
Okay.
Sometimes it calls for that. Most of the time I just lay there and
Okay,
think
so
about
this is a falling asleep thing. You're not
worst
part
case
of the
scenario.
3 a.m. wake up call club.
She thinks about the burn book. That's what
Okay.
she's doing.
Yeah,
She's thinking
I do.
about the burn book.
I wake up and I think, oh God, chapter 5. What did I write? My anxiety sometimes kicks in full bore at about 3 a.m.
Okay, so have you tried it? Yeah.
I have not.
All right,
but
so-
now after this, I am, and I'll
Yeah.
report back.
Report back.
All
Yes,
right.
sure.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right, we got another member question. So this comes from Ashley Saunders. Says not losing control over the weekend. It's like a switch turns off. So I'm assuming that question is, how do I not lose control on the weekend? Whew.
Beamer, let's go to you on this
yeah.
one, Bryce. I think the ultimate burn bro perspective on this one is important. Obviously, you having busy weekends, having kids. How don't you lose it on the weekend?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that I have the strategy. I can give you a little bit of my thought process. So I'm not sure that this was the biggest problem in my health journey, but it definitely was contributing to me not hitting my goals. And I think for me, Monday through Friday was so regimented. You have work. It's for me, it was boom, 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 boom. I'm in work mode. I'm in productive mode. And so my habits are much more dialed in. When you get to the weekend is kind of for me when I would switch into, okay, family, recharge, those things that kind of allow me, this is what these 2 days are for.
Yeah.
And some of the habits would change. And so when I realized, hey, I'm setting some goals that I'm not reaching because my habits aren't allowing me to, I took a look at the weekends and just said, where am I getting off track and what's actually important to me?
Yeah.
Because things like one of the big things for me was getting up and I'm not eating cinnamon rolls on a Tuesday morning at 5:45 a.m., right? I'm just not.
Yeah.
Even from time or just, I'm not even in that headspace to be like, let me get a little treat, But on Saturday, if that's what we're doing, we're waking up. Sometimes I'm not even eating right away. I'm just enjoying some coffee with the family. And then if cinnamon rolls is what gets thrown in the oven, that's what I'm eating, right? And when I took a step back and realized, does this even make my weekend better? Do I look forward to this? Or is it just something because it's there? It's because I'm out of routine. And so when I'm strong, I'm just, I'll make some eggs or I'll eat whatever I eat during the week and just really look at what is important to me. So if I'm looking to recharge, if I'm looking to spend time with family and friends, I do want to go out to eat sometimes and eat something that looks good on the menu, but we don't do that often. And it's even, again, that might be one time on the weekend. And so I just started looking at what's different about the weekend, what do I want to be different about the weekend, and what just became a thing that wasn't really intentional. And for me, that's helped a lot because it just, the weekends are maybe where some of my meals that I wouldn't eat during the week still do happen, but it's intentional.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now tell me, trainer, does that make sense? Or are you like,
How do you
dude,
do?
Well, no,
switch your life immediately?
What you're saying, what I hear you saying is how not to lose control on the weekend is a self-awareness journey. I hear you asking questions, really important questions to yourself. Does this serve me? Is this just a mundane habit? Morgan and I talked about this like last night. Is it just like a habit? Like, are you just doing it because that's what you do? Like, what is the intentionality behind a habit? Okay, so if you believe that might be the axiom in which we can have a solid strategy from, what is the intention of the habit, then baked into that question is the word anticipation, because intentions have to be future oriented, right? And so if I'm future oriented with my intentions, now I'm starting to anticipate what's going to be in front of me. And if you, let's like you're traveling, you're going on a vacation and you're planning for the trip, how much more put together and sound and how much better do you feel about that trip knowing that you know exactly what you're going to do when you get there? It's not like you're going to touch down in like the Caribbean islands and be like, we're here, man. What are we going to do? Right? Like you're going to actually.
The accents are out. Today.
Where are we staying? How are we getting around?
We're going to Jamaica. Yeah, you don't do that. You don't just show up somewhere and then just like walk around and like without a game plan. And so if you're doing that in my silly metaphor, if you're doing that on the weekend, just showing up on the weekend saying, oh, I'm here now. What do I want to do? Well, as a human being, we want to do what feels good to us. And most of what feels good to us is bad for us. And so we're going to inevitably just fall into something that's bad. And that's when you create those bad habits, is like you're falling into it unconsciously and you're not asking those really intelligent questions that you're asking. And so, I wrote about this in the first book. I know we're going to talk about the burn book today a little bit. But the first book I wrote, Stop Starting Over, I talked about the 12-hour rule. And that's just a very simple way for you to anticipate the weekend. And it says, hey, 12 hours out of the week, modify a healthy diet, have the cinnamon roll, go to the restaurant and have the thing, because we also know that if you just deprive yourself of all the things that you want, now you're just in this like restrictive imprisonment mode. And
all you can think about is the cinnamon roll.
All you can think about is don't think about the cinnamon roll. Don't think about the cinnamon roll.
I want the cinnamon roll.
Next thing you know, it's in your gullet. It's all down the hatch. So anticipation is power.
Yeah.
Anticipation is power. The summer months are coming up and you're going to have barbecue. Okay. You're going to have your birthday, the thing that you say, oh, that snuck up on me. By the way, that happens every year and it doesn't change. Like your dad's birthday, your mom's birthday, your birthday, all the birthdays you have in your life, those don't change. Christmas,
same time every year.
Same time every year.
It's enlightening stuff. Did that come to you during a meditation session? And you just thought, sneak it up on me.
Thanksgiving, it's there, right?
Yep.
Halloween, it's
Have a
there.
plan.
So if you say, well, my lifestyle, well, it's like everything, you could find an excuse almost every day to go off the rails. So have a plan, anticipate a plan to modify a healthy diet, not to fall off the wagon, but knowingly modify a healthy diet. I use that language specifically because modifying means that you're coming back. You're coming back to it. Okay. You're temporarily going away. You're coming back. So temporarily modify those healthy habits, have that 12-hour rule, anticipate the game plan for the birthdays, for golf season, for barbecue season, Christmas, all those things. And if you can anticipate, now you have a little bit of power, right? And now it comes down to discipline, right? So you have your plan, you have your anticipation. Now it's about how bad do you want to feel good?
Yeah.
Because if you don't desire to feel good in a really deep way, well, then you're going to do things that are bad for you. You'll feel good right now, but you're going to just be mentally torn apart and destructed, because in the long run, you're going to have shame and guilt, and you're going to go inward and blame yourself for the negative consequences in your life. And arguably, you probably should, because it's in your control, right? Don't dwell on it. Use that to ask yourself that question. Am I having a plan?
Yeah. And just be mindful of how you feel after the cinnamon rolls.
Take self-awareness.
If you don't feel great, I mean, for me, it's just, I don't do well when I swing wildly from one place to the other. It's just a lot easier to take that middle road throughout 7 days a week.
I agree.
I need to take that advice. I'm an all in, all out person. I need to be more like, I'm very even keeled in my emotional state of being. But when it comes to like things that I do, I have a very addictive personality. It
like
serves
he'll
me
eat
well. But
4 ice cream sandwiches instead of just one.
Yeah, that's me too.
if there's some left in the box, I'm kind of mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
the kids will wake up and they'll be like, Dad ate them all again.
Oh, I've heard Cam go after you.
Oh, boy.
She takes no prisoners.
she gets mad at me.
I just
I would
say,
too.
hey, there's this thing called a grocery store. There's more there. We can go get some.
yeah,
I think
but-
Devin would admit 4 is probably not great for you.
No.
No.
And, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm better off just not eating them at all.
Yeah, we can't have it in the house.
Oh,
So then I try to hide certain things, but he usually finds them.
Yeah,
Or the kids find
I'll
them.
find you.
There is an interesting relationship, though, and you probably can relate to this, of when you maybe do that for a period of time and you're feeling or seeing the effects of that, then you probably say, okay, I've got to cut this out.
Yeah.
But if that's the one thing that you're doing here and there on the weekend and you're still making progress towards your goals, right? Then it kind of fits. So it's almost like the activity has to fit your goals. And I know I go through that as kind of a period of making progress. I'm doing my focus meeting and seeing what my results are, and I'm making progress, but within there, maybe there's a little bit of that sprinkled in. But when I start to feel I'm going backwards, right? For my own personal goals that I've decided are important to me is when I start to ask those questions, right? So there's kind of times where I'm just feeling, I don't think I'm lining up with, my actions aren't lining up with what I'm trying to do. And I can tell, I can see it, I can feel it. And then that's when I kind of go back to what strategy is getting me here and how do I need to rework this?
Course correct.
But there's times where I smashed 4 ice cream sandwiches or Yasso bars and I've still made progress because of what's happening, you know, maybe what I'm doing in other, in other areas.
Yeah.
So the Burn book is here, guys. There's 5. It's the Burn Bootcamp 5-step strategy for inner. Oops, I dropped it. This is the Burn Bootcamp 5-step strategy for inner and outer strength. Morgan and I and Ansley really put this book together, and there's really 5 categories. It's burn, achieve, nourish, believe, and connect. And Ashley, you know, part of your question is what we write about in the book under the connect strategy is like, yes, anticipation is power. Yes, self-awareness is especially helpful when it comes to your food and your relationship with food, as Morgan was talking about earlier. But what really ultimately holds you accountable to this is the people that you surround yourself with, and what are their standards? What are their standards for their life? Because when Bryce, you know, maybe goes off, modifies a healthy diet for too long, I'm going to call him out. He's going to call me out in a friendly burn bro type way. And I think the ladies are different. They have maybe a different energy around the around like how they might call each other out or hold each other accountable, but it's the same thing. It's the same outcome, right? We're holding each other accountable. Like we kind of have like the locker room talk, like, come on, dude, what, you can't do it? Like,
it wouldn't look friendly to you, but
it wouldn't look friendly, but it's super friendly to us.
We don't give each other shit.
We're not gonna do a live one on the podcast, please.
Okay. But I think it's so important, just and that's why we put this book together, to realize the power of the connection, both from yourself, connection with yourself, but a connection with the people around you, because of this reason. You will always do more for the people that you love in your life than you will do for yourself. You don't believe me? Go to YouTube and type in old lady lifts car. This little old grandmother can lift a 2-ton car or a 1-ton car, can lift its tires off the ground because her grandchild has his leg or her leg stuck underneath the wheel of the car.
Sure.
You try to give that same grandmother $1 million to lift that car, she can try all she wants. She ain't earning $1 million because that's for her. Right. There's a different energy when you're doing something for somebody that you love in your life. And this, to me, is the power of community, because you'll always show up for other people and work harder for them than you will for yourself. And that's the truth.
Yeah. Different motivation, for sure.
Coming June 2024, people. June 18th. Pre-order right now on Amazon.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on. We've got myth or fact. So this is going to be a fun little segment here. We're each I'm just going to go around myth or fact, each of you really quickly. Muscle will turn into fat if you stop working out.
No.
Myth.
I think I have to say myth now, right? Or else I'm okay. So let's dive into this. Where's the science behind this?
I'll give you the
Devan?
scientific breakdown, and then you guys can talk on that platform. How about that? Okay, so muscle does not turn into fat, and fat does not turn into muscle. They're 2 separate tissues. Muscle is made of muscle fibers and is very metabolically active. Basal metabolic rate is increased, meaning the calories that you burn while at rest, that's increased with the more muscle that you have, right? So, which means the more calories that you burn just by being you. So that's what metabolically active means. Muscle's built on muscle fibers. Fat's built on adipose tissue, which is the energy storage for our body. When we consume more calories than we need, our body has a reserve energy store as a survival mechanism for human beings to live long lives when we don't have food available to us, okay? So muscle is much different than fat. I hope you're getting that from that little explanation. Muscle can atrophy, meaning if you don't use it, you
lose
it. All right. And fat, you can gain fat based on a calorie surplus. Okay. So how do you build muscle? First of all, muscle is built through the recruitment of muscle fiber through lifting weights, hypertrophy specifically. That's just a fancy word for a rep range that is around 8 to 15 reps. And that's arguable. That's just a general framework, but really it's muscle failure. Like you literally cannot pick up any more weight. You can't lift it. The muscles are fully taxed. You've recruited every muscle fiber. So you're breaking down the muscle, right? Okay, so how do you build it? Then you replenish your body. What's the number one macronutrient that we need in order to replenish our body that kickstarts protein synthesis, guys? What is it?
You just used it in the question.
Protein. You got it. All right.
I thought that was a trick question at first.
So protein synthesis is the act of muscle building, repairing the muscle using protein as the macronutrient, which is made of amino acids, essential and non-essential amino acids. And then rest and recovery, because we don't actually build muscle in the gym. We actually burn muscle in the recovery period when we're giving our body enough protein and carbohydrate and fat, and we are resting and letting our body fully recover and heal. So how do you burn fat? Okay, you need a calorie deficit, right? You need to have less energy coming into your body than is going out of your body. Increasing your heart rate, doing a lot of conditioning will really promote fat loss. And then obviously maintaining your muscle mass is the best way to burn fat because of the basal metabolic rate that I just touched on a moment ago. Okay. So let's get to the real myth part of this, and then we can have a conversation. Okay, so muscle will turn to fat if you don't work out. Okay, that's not true. Okay, muscle, if you don't work out, will atrophy, and it will only be gained through muscular protein synthesis or using your carbohydrates broken down into glycogen into your muscles as a storage for energy to build. Okay, fat, this is the really important part. Fat is broken down during the metabolic process of your body and is broken down into two things: carbon dioxide and water, CO2 and H2O. Okay, here's what you do with fat. Does anybody want to take a guess before anybody out there want to take a guess? How do you actually get rid of fat? If you don't turn it into muscle, then how do you get rid of it? Where does it go?
You put on one of those belts that shocks you and then it just melts away.
You can get those on Ainsley's late night infomercials when she's waking up at 3 a.m. trying to conquer the world.
I'll test that out too. I'll get back to you.
Any other guesses?
I think I know because I was listening to Matt talk about it.
Okay, then don't spill the beans.
Okay,
Morgan, do you have any guesses?
Well, you're not letting us guess.
Well,
then,
she
right?
knows. That's not a guess if she knows.
No.
Okay. You don't want to take a guess?
No.
Okay. Ainsley, what do you think it is?
I think you breathe it out.
You do breathe it out. So,
okay, everybody take a deep breath.
now you lose some
I
fat.
need to do that meditation where you pass out because you're breathing so much. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you lose your body fat by breathing and peeing. You breathe out CO2 and you pee out H2O. And so we actually don't convert fat into muscle. We can convert fat into water or carbon dioxide. When you breathe out fat, which you're breathing out the water vapors as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's the truth behind.
Wild.
But I think this is like somewhat of a trick question because first of all, there's no context, right? How long did you stop working out? And essentially, when you do stop working out and you lose muscle because you're not doing anything to build it up, then your metabolism goes down. And when your metabolism goes down and you don't counteract that with your decreased caloric intake, you are going to gain fat. So
two separate systems, but Morgan's explaining the appropriate cause and effect, correlation between the two.
That is likely why it became a myth, right?
Yeah,
it's something because if you're looking at the end outcome, it would be something that if you were watching that happen, you would seem to think, oh, my muscle went down and my fat went up, right? And so I can see how people would say, is this one process? And we're saying that's the same outcome, but one is not turning into the other.
Yep. Absolutely.
Body composition is the conversation that we want to have.
And I think we've had to have that conversation a lot, or at least I have. I'm sure Devan, you as well, as a trainer, when you're doing focus meetings and people are changing their body compensation by losing body fat, but they're gaining muscle, but then the scale is not changing,
right.
So it is kind of confusing because fat weighs more than muscle.
Muscle weighs more than fat by about 3 times roughly.
So you might step on the scale. You've been working out for 12 weeks and you step on the scale and maybe it goes up or maybe it doesn't change. And you automatically think, oh, I'm not making progress, but your body compensation is changing because of those two different systems that we talked about.
I think the best way to look at that is how do you feel? How do your clothes feel?
Yeah.
Because the number is going to lie. Yeah. It's not a good place to base any sort of judgments. I think it was a doctor at the Cleveland Clinic. They talk about body composition, but what we do is recompensate
recompose.
We're recomposing the body.
That sounds like we're like decomposing.
Well, I know that's not a good thing, but no, I think one of the two things that I remember that he said was the absolute must is strength training and protein.
Yep.
And I don't know if that rings a bell for anybody here,
Yes.
but I mean, it's what we preach,
Yep.
and it's just absolutely critical to reshaping your body.
Absolutely.
Is it also true that the more you build muscle, your metabolism improves, right? So the stronger that you get and you add muscle to your body composition, I actually could crush 4 ice cream sandwiches and achieve different results, correct?
100%. Yeah, you're back to your basal metabolic rate, right? The calories that you burn at rest will increase with the increase in muscle mass. And I think Ansley brings up a great point too. This is why weight is a terrible metric for you to focus on.
Absolutely.
Weight. Because listen, like here's the honest truth. If I step on a scale and I'm worried about weight, all right, cut my right arm off at the elbow, I'll lose weight right away. I'll lose weight. But that's not a very healthy way to lose weight, right? This is more about a mass conversation and weight can actually fluctuate, by the way. Gravity is the precessor to weight. So on the equator, where the planet bulges a little bit, you actually, because you're closer to the low Earth orbit, you actually weigh less at the equator than you do sitting here right now. If you go up and you go into like low Earth orbit and you're in the space station, what do you weigh?
Nothing.
You weigh nothing, but you still have mass.
Sure.
But your weight is nothing because a weight is only a measurement of your mass against gravity.
Yeah.
So there's a conversation that I think is that which has been a misnomer for so long, that losing weight is like a noble goal. I think it is by far the worst single metric that you can focus on.
Yep.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Now, if you're obviously deconditioned and super obese, weight becomes the first thing you really want to really focus on because you're in danger at that level of obesity. But generally speaking, for most people, we want to have a conversation around the muscle mass that you have,
Right.
right, and the muscle mass. So stepping on a scale isn't going to necessarily be helpful. If you're getting your strength training and your protein in, you likely will gain mass and weight over time.
Yeah.
So either of you guys in a focus meeting, have you ever said, yeah, just move to this place closer to the equator? That's never been a...
No, I have not.
Okay.
When people say, hey, Devan, I want to lose weight. I say, are you willing to part with your right pinky toe?
Okay. So that's...
Yeah. Do you want to move to the equator? Well, because
That's a myth. You've never said that.
100%. Oh,
You
yeah.
have? No, I've never done a focus meeting.
And I've done thousands of them. You'd be radically surprised at some of the things I would say to get people to move to the next level. Because how much
You got to get their attention.
how much BS are a lot of us, all of us have at one point in time.
Unfortunately, what's ingrained in a lot of us, especially women, who is the majority of the population that we serve, is they grew up with a mom or somebody stepping on a scale literally every day.
Your weight is your worth.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So we're reversing that. We're
reversing
pulling
that.
back out of
Get
that.
out of the
and
scale.
we're
Get
getting
off
into
the scale.
into the strength phase. It's about what you can gain, not about what you can lose. So
Yeah.
focus on that.
Yep.
all right, we are going to turn our focus to the book that Devan already talked about a little bit. And so this is a big reason why we had Ansley on as our guest today on the podcast. So we're gonna let her lead this next discussion.
Oh, giving me the reins
Yeah,
over the CEO and
yeah.
the visionary. All right. I could get used to this. I was so grateful, so fortunate, so blessed to be a very small part of the book that's coming out in June. Pre-order now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have some questions that I'd like to ask both of you, and y'all can share, jump in whenever. Obviously, you two have a deep respect, love, excellent communication skills. You've built an incredible business, 401 locations later, and you have a working relationship along with raising a big family, but co-authoring a book has its own unique challenges. And I want to let you guys talk about what those challenges were, what were your creative differences? How did you solve them? How did the idea come up, and how did you convince each other that this was something you wanted to do?
You're like looking at me like, what are you going to say?
I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, this is unrehearsed, folks. So we're getting the raw truth here.
Yeah, I think you bring up some good points that we're both different as far as how we express ourselves, right? You can see that if you follow us on social media or if you know us personally, I tend to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more private. I'm vulnerable about certain things. And then I would say he has just a different approach, and he's kind of an open book. And so he's already written a book. And obviously when this came about, I think one of our first conversations and one of the first maybe fears I had was making sure we still had a boundary of what my comfort level was, of how much we share. And then obviously still satisfying his comfort level to share a lot. So I think we did a really beautiful job of kind of meeting in the middle. And that's a conversation we often have to have, even when we're podcasting together or we're doing interviews together or just anything. He always likes to push the limit a little, and I like to hold back. But that's just what makes, I think, our dynamic cool, and why we've been able balanced and why we've been able to do so much. So listen, this book has been a long time in the making. So I can't even put myself back into like some of these early conversations where he proposed it to me, and we made sure that we were both aligned of like how we're going to approach it, or when there's a disagreement. And it comes with a lot of open communication, for sure, and just a lot of back and forth of what makes the most sense. And what I love so much about this book is it's not just about us. And I didn't really want that to be, and neither did him. It's not about us. It's about this brand, and it's the brand's book. We're just the authors, and we're just telling our unique story about it. But there's 14 stories in here about members, and really leaning into how they were able to achieve those transformations through Burn Boot Camp, and creating the tools around that to help other people that open this book. Yeah,
and all 14 of those stories will be featured on this podcast, everybody. So make sure that you look out for it over the coming months. June 18th is when it drops, and I'm very excited about it. It started, I remember the day it started maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the pandemic hit, and we made a decision, literally sitting in this studio. Bryce, you were there. We made a decision in this studio to close 275 gyms at the time. And you look at that, it's like, I don't fear a lot of things, but that was one time when I thought, okay, what if this just goes up in smoke, and it's uncontrollable, and there's nothing, because we were crushing in 275 gyms. I mean, we had outlooks for 2020 to be like the best year ever. And at the end of 2019 is when I started thinking about the follow-up. And then once the pandemic hit, we then decided to do it. Well, and we were like every day trying to save the company, but also in the times like that, you're just treading water. You're just trying not to drown, right? And that was the whole system at the time. And so you can only focus on that so often if you want your life to be somewhat happy. And so I was just find myself waking up every day just focused on all the problems, and like, what type of miserable existence is that, to just wake up every day and just focus on problems? And that's when I was like, you know what? Let's do this now. Right. Because it's not like we're traveling all over the place. I had all that time back that we didn't travel. And so I reached out and I acquired an agent. We signed the agent, and then the agent helped us get with one of the big 5 publishers. So this book is, our publishing partner is Hachette International. They're a company out of France. They do a ton of big authors. And that's the reason, going back to August 2018, when we launched my self-published book, Stop Starting Over, that was just solely authored by me. And that was her and I's decision, though, to say, hey, let's test the waters and let's make publications a bigger part of Burn Nation. So this was always going to be there. The pandemic just helped speed up the decision. We get with Hachette. They give us an amazing offer to write the book. We write the book. I work with you. I work with Maggie Greenwood. Shout out to Maggie. You guys were so phenomenal in helping Morgan and I put this together. The foundation and the ideas and the concepts and the draft one and all the things that go into it come from Morgan and I.
All you.
But then you guys came through and really shaped it up and helped punch up the stories and make it a really enjoyable book to read. And Dan, shout out to Dan at Hachette, who is the lead person on our publication. He said he's read this manuscript more than he's ever read any manuscript in his 20 years of publishing, because it helps him and inspires him and motivates him to be healthy himself. And he said he usually doesn't get interested in the projects that he works on, except for this one has really a special place in his heart. And he went and visited Sandra Pando up in New Jersey, one of our New Jersey locations, and just was kind of all in on it. And so, yeah. And then Morgan, her role was to really read, tweak. My role was to start with ideas, start with the foundation. Her job was to make sure that the foundation was solid. And then you guys were in between, making sure that every word meant something, the transitions were good. And so this is truly a team project. And like Morgan said, the last thing I'll say is the reason, so the book's written in, what would you say, Ansley, third person? It's we? Third person?
It goes back and forth, actually. It's a lot of different stories you tell from your experiences. We talk about other people's. So yeah, it's all the things.
The majority of it is we to you. So it's Morgan and I writing as if we are sitting on a couch and talking to you. And the whole style of the book that's what I wanted it to be, was like a conversation on the couch. Like a member was just sitting on the couch and they were talking to Morgan and I, and we were coaching them, almost like a really long focus meeting. Is what this book really is. And it shares the 5-step strategy to inner and outer strength, which was originally our 5 pillars of Burn Bootcamp. And they evolved over the years, just like we all do over the years. And now it's Burn, Believe, Nourish, Achieve, and Connect. And those 5 pillars are the kind of new, modern, contemporary representation of what's always been there since the parking lot days.
I think that's like, the 5 pillars, we've been building that together. So it's just putting that on paper. And then like Devan said, getting help from you guys to help bring that message to life. Yeah.
I do want to call out a couple things that you just mentioned, Devan. The fact that Hachette sought you all out and were willing to partner is, that's a huge compliment. It is a big deal to be published by a company like Hachette. And I think it's because this book, for me, is just really raw from your personal experiences to the transformation stories to the really even the advice. It's very, like you just said, get eye to eye, look. This is what it's going to take. And that's even part of every single chapter. What is it going to take? And it does not mince words. It is very straightforward. It is a focus meeting, and it can absolutely 100% change your trajectory. And I think that there's so many people that are going to read this and be so inspired to do the things that are necessary to change their lives.
We made it for the gyms. We made it for our franchise partners to put in the gym. So Bryce, maybe you can comment on that. Just like from the gym perspective, you run 9 of our HQ gyms as the vice president. How do you see, I haven't even asked you this yet, actually. We're like homeboys. We hang out all the time. And I haven't asked you this yet. How do you see this coming to life inside of the gyms?
Yeah. Well, I could say what I'm excited about is twofold, and then whatever I add on to that as I keep talking. But first is really when I think about our team, right? I mean, you guys know what it's like. You did it when you're building a gym. It's fitness hours. You're up early. Like you're just pouring into people. Yep. And so we have some gyms that have people in the book, but we have gyms that don't, right? But it's also just a good time to take a step back and say, what is this brand doing that we are doing inside these 4 walls that they're just not in the book yet. Yeah. Right. That's really what's on my heart, is that's who I spend a lot of my time with, is the people who are showing up to make all of that happen. Right. Yeah. And it's their long days. You're on the floating floor, you're on your feet, you're trying to keep up with your calories because you're moving so much, and you're really just doing all of that to make a difference in people's lives. And so to have something that's capturing the power of what we're doing, I'm just excited for our team to be able to have it, touch it, get to know those stories and be inspired to create more of them. And then, beyond that, when I think about the members, tools like this are just so powerful. I mean, we talked about the podcast, and it's part of what we do. We want to educate. So there's that, but there's also somebody's going to read the stories in there and be able to relate. Or if they can't relate, it's going to provide perspective. And so for me, both are powerful, and oftentimes perspective, I'm talking about, I'm crushing these 4 cinnamon rolls. And it's like some of these stories, when you really take a step back and you look at what people have been able to do, it starts to, sometimes it facilitates some of that self-awareness, right? Sometimes it creates a productive conversation with myself that leads to, I've got my own journey, but it helps me on my own journey. Just even if I haven't gone through what these people have gone through, I can still put myself in their shoes and say, wow, that's pretty impressive. What am I going to do with what I have the ability to do?
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. Every time I read, I've been reading the book a lot more. We're getting ready to record on audio, so I'm just going through it again, speaking out loud. And every time I read stories, I cry. Like there's tears. And I appreciate the vulnerability so much because, like you said, Bryce, someone's either going to relate to that or maybe they don't relate to it. So it kind of puts their own life in a different perspective. But it also gives people permission to share their story. And it touches them in a way that maybe they were hiding something. They were stuffing something away for so long because they felt shame. But then when they read a story in here, it may give them that permission to say like, hey, that's me too.
To feel this feeling.
And feel it and deal with it and say, okay, now I have tools and strategies. And if they did it, certainly I can do it too.
Yeah.
So, for me, when you pick up this book, after you pre-order it today, after you listen to this, I just really hope that you feel empowered. That's my end goal for all of our readers when they turn the last page is to put it down and say, I feel much more empowered. I feel equipped to make changes in my life, to transform a part of my life. And it's that book on the shelf that you can keep coming back to because we do all need those reminders. Often it's not something that you set and forget. That's just life. Yeah. Ups and downs here and there, but just that reminder and those tools that sit inside these books.
What do you hope people feel when they turn that last page and close the book?
I hope that people can appreciate the rawness of it and then they can correlate that to their own raw feelings that they aren't sharing. Because from severe existential alcoholism to sexual abuse to obesity to gnarly cancer survivor stories to closet drug addict stories in this book. It's all the stories are very dramatic, but they're very real and they're not dramatized. These are real things that people actually deal with.
Real life.
That they don't want to talk about. Yep. And I actually already pre-recorded the interview with a gentleman in the book who is a franchise partner of our North Suffolk location, Brian Waddell. Yeah. And Brian he's 1,800 plus days sober, and he was an alcoholic, and he had shared his story with me when we first became partners, and Byrne really helped pull him out of that and gave him a purpose and gave him a void. My father and my mother both dealt with substance abuse, and there is a real, it is a partner for you. Like substances are a partner for you. It sits
right here.
It sits right there, and as soon as it's not sitting there anymore, there's a giant void. Yeah. And so, Byrne has been able to really fill that void for a lot of people that have these, that are overcoming and will continue to overcome. Because once you're an addict, let's say, or you're an alcoholic, that never leaves you. That's why Brian keeps a tab every single day. That's his daily goal if I don't do anything else today, I'm just not drinking today. Right. And so that's what I hope, Ans, is that people are able to connect with the rawness of the book, both in my story, Morgan's story. She shares for like one of the first times publicly about her father and his passing in a car accident early on. And you can read about that, and you can read about all the just amazing human beings that are a representation of Byrne Nation as a whole. And hopefully this brings people's heart closer to their head, and they're able to really get some inspiration and walk away from this being like, I have made this decision to be more like Brian. And I struggled. The last thing I'll say is I really struggled during writing this book with comparison is the thief of joy. You guys have heard that before? Sure. People say like comparison is the thief of joy. It can be. I don't think that's an absolute statement. I think it's also useful to compare yourself to other people and to see where they were at and to see where you can go. Yeah. It opens up to me, it's inspirational. It opens up a pathway in this kind of hierarchy of life to look at other people's scenarios, compare yourself to them and say, you know what? If Brian can stop drinking, I can stop drinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll hear from Brian. We'll also hear from all the other stories. And the next podcast is going to be with one of our members, Samantha Ray. She is an amazing burn member at Naples, Florida. So you guys are going to be hearing from her. She overcame cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times.
It's an unreal story.
So unreal story. And that will be next on the podcast. So guys, make sure that you have pre-ordered your book, that you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. And guys, thank you so much for joining me.
This has been so fun.
This is fun.
This was
I like
really
Do you
fun.
guys like it? You like the new setup in here?
We love it.
This is great.
We
Good
love
job.
it. All right. We are going to end like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Bye, guys.